A ground invasion of Iran is on the cards, but nobody actually appreciates how devastatingly different this conflict is going to be when compared to the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. This is the real horror of what might be waiting in the shadows: the humble FPV or first-person view drone. Costing a mere $300 to $400, it has been used in swarms, virtually unstoppable. The injuries and effects on the battlefield are nothing short of terrifying. Their use has forced us to rethink the fundamentals of battlefield medicine. Even if the invasion force establishes air supremacy in the classical sense, these drones, some not much bigger than the palm of your hand, can be easily concealed, launched by a hidden pilot and navigated straight to a target infantryman in a matter of minutes, detonating a few ounces of explosives to deadly effect. What we have seen in Ukraine is appalling, and a lot of these effects have been ignored and downplayed by the mainstream media, as it was seen as a necessary weapon to fight the Russian aggressors. As a practicing doctor who deals with trauma, I am very concerned that nobody seems to really care. Now, to be clear, nobody in their right minds thinks that the Iranian government are angels. They have been complicit in many crimes against their own people and their neighbors, and I don't think anybody would miss them. One of the catchphrases of modern combat medicine is the golden hour, which refers to getting your wounded stabilized and out of the combat zone and to a hospital in under an hour.
I want my wounded out of there in the hospital in 15 minutes. I want my men out.
This was possible in the past, as seen in conflicts in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq using helicopters. The main cause of death in combat has always been bleeding out. Medics are equipped with basic gear to deal with bleeding, initiate IV drips, etc., and especially tourniquets, which are basically straps you might have seen in the movies applied on the arms or legs to stop the bleeding. But these are temporary measures. They will stabilize the wounded so they can be flown out to a hospital where they can be treated definitively by a trauma team. Most usually this means going into the operating theater to control the bleeding. All this used to take just 1 hour. Now, drone warfare in Ukraine has turned this golden hour on its head, with FPV drones purposely targeting medevac personnel and vehicles, putting a red cross on the top of your vehicle, putting a big target on your head. Getting wounded soldiers out within an hour may well be impossible. It is well known that drones were used to take out transport helicopters, and these would make easy targets when they're on the ground. So essentially, wounded soldiers could be stuck on the ground for days. Now, the golden hour has become the golden 6 hours, golden day, golden days. This poses so many new problems. For example, a tourniquet that is applied on a limb essentially cuts the blood supply to that limb. This stops the bleeding, but this means the limb will slowly start dying. The safe period to keep a tourniquet on is around 2 hours before that leg starts to die. And it's not a simple case of, okay, so what, your leg dies, but you survive. Or life over limb, right? When a large part of the body, like an arm or a leg, dies, the dying muscle releases proteins called myoglobin. These reach your kidneys and cause them to fail, a condition called myoglobinuria. Your wounded soldier is now in multi-organ failure. His chances of survival keep dropping. Undoubtedly, there's been coordination and exchange of technical knowledge between the Russians and the Iranians, especially on drone warfare. The other horrifying aspect of this type of warfare is the psychological effect. These attacks come without warning, except for a slight buzzing sound, and they can follow you into buildings. Nowhere is safe. The propaganda value is also insane. FPV drones are equipped with cameras, and the sight of frightened soldiers running away from these drones captured in first person, sometimes their faces clearly visible, is extremely disturbing. Now imagine if these were images of US Marines broadcast to the rest of the world. This new evolution of warfare is so dystopian and frankly terrifying, as it is so cheap and easy to deploy. In Afghanistan and Iraq, the main hidden threat came from IEDs or improvised explosive devices hidden by roadsides. They were triggered as you passed by, either on foot or in a vehicle. This is the equivalent of an IED chasing you through the air, into buildings and behind cover, and then blowing you up. There are countermeasures, but there is no perfect way to counter or jam drones, with fiber optic cables used to make some drone systems virtually unjammable. Combat medicine has also come up with innovative ways to provide medical aid using drones. As seen in Ukraine, blood and blood products have been delivered by drones to wounded soldiers who are unable to evacuate.
This drone can evacuate the wounded without a pilot. Designed for medical evacuations, this autonomous drone can carry up to 300 pounds and reach speeds of 53 miles per hour. AI-powered navigation allows it to operate without a pilot, making rescue missions faster and safer.
Ground UAVs have been used to physically drag wounded out of the line of fire. Obviously, the invasion planners would have to put this threat into consideration. I personally believe this will be the critical weakness that Iran will try to exploit. They have the bodies and the will to sacrifice life to trade for time. The United States, with shock and awe, are used to the lowest casualty death rates since the Second World War. This has been mainly due to its ability to evacuate the wounded in a short time. Whether our tactical combat casualty care methods, or TCCC, have been modified to keep up with this threat will be seen once the boots hit the ground. The world will be watching carefully. Of course, I'm not a military medic, and I'm not privy to war preparation plans, but I feel very concerned because I've seen the cost of war in the lives of the veterans and the civilians in various conflicts.
Військовослужбовець 79-ї окремої десантно-штурмової бригади. 20 грудня 23-го року я отримав поранення. Ми йшли по полю і нас змалювали ворожі FPV-дрони. Почали наносити ураження. Загинув перший мій побратим, другий наклав мені турнікету, потім у нього також прилетів FPV. Я почав шукати рацію, вона була у загиблого побратима в руці. Мені одразу ще на стабілізаційному пункті сказали, що треба буде ампутувати кінцівки. Кінцівки просто-напросто відмерли. Коли я отримав свій перший протез, я зрозумів, що це капець. І так само було і з рукою. Я просто не міг на себе в дзеркало дивитись, і я не бачив просто попереду себе повноцінного життя. Це, знаєте, я б покинув би шпиталь і поїхав би додому і сидів би там вдома. Але я захотів далі боротись, і я пішов на остеоінтеграцію.
I'm pretty young, 30 years old, and I don't want to stay in the wheelchair for the rest of my life. So I have to keep fighting.
Some who've been broken in body and soul. The cost in blood and treasure is always high.